It's my pleasure to introduce Chris Childers. Chris is the author of the Penguin Book of Greek and Latin Lyric Verse, which was published by Penguin Classics in March of this year, and it's available for sale over here. I'm sure he'd be happy to sign a copy for you. His work has appeared in many magazines, including Smartish Pace, the Hopkins Review, 32 Poems, and Literary Matters. He was awarded the Erskine J Poetry Prize, and his prize-winning poem was later selected for the Best American Poetry 2024. For full disclosure, I picked the winning poem for the Erskine J Poetry Prize. It's an amazing poem, and I think the fact that it got picked up for the Best American Poetry just speaks to how great the submission was. I also don't mind saying, like, Chris has submitted to Smartish Pace a number of times through the year, so I've had the chance to read his work. His work are favorites of mine, so personally I'm really excited to have him read here today. Happy he won. I'm happy he got selected for the Best American Poetry. It's in the current edition, which I'm pretty sure is available in the bookstore, I would imagine. It must be. Additionally, Chris's work was recently featured by Major Jackson on the Slowdown podcast, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, or if you're not, you should definitely check it out. 10 years at Baltimorean, Chris has recently relocated to Los Angeles, where he teaches Latin, and he claims he never removes his sunglasses. Please welcome Christopher Childers.
Thank you, Stefan. This is the book. I spent 14 years translating this, and quite a lot of it, 20-30%, I don't know, was done in this coffee shop. I was sort of an itinerant vagabond among coffee shops. I would go from one to the other, so very happy, actually. This is also the first time I've read from it, and it has been available for sale. There's a weird issue with the Great Atlantic Schism between penguins, so it's not, you can buy it from Amazon, but it's a little harder to get on this side of the pond, or it will be until it's out in paperback next year. So anyway, I'm very happy to be reading from it here. What I thought I would do is, the reason I'm lucky that this weekend kind of coincided with this event, because I came for a lecture at Penn, and so I'm just going to read the poems that I read in that lecture without the lecture. It was called A Mockingbird Among Nightingales, and I'm the mockingbird, but there's a lot of nightingales, and so yeah, I guess I have my bird in hand, the book here. Anyway, more in the bush. I'll start with a dithyram spoken by a poet called Orion. It's an anonymous classical poem. Orion famously was forced to walk the plank, but he got to sing to his lyre first, so he was saved by dolphins who loved his poetry. So anyway, this is Orion's song. Sublimest of deities, Poseidon, lord of the sea's populous womb, whose trident is all gold, who have the whole planet to hold. Around you, creatures of the ocean ply their circle dance that swims, gills flashing with a finny motion, with a darting motion lightly on their finny limbs, and slick-necked pups with blunt round noses, quicksilver dolphins, lovers of the muses, amphitrites, oceanic kids, nurslings of the goddess Nereids. Thanks to you, I managed to escape when I was bobbing aimlessly in the swells off Sicily, and you took me up on your arching backs and plowed the ocean's wavy plain through furrows free from human tracks, and set me down again in Pelops country on Taenarus' cape, after double-dealing men from the seaworthy hollow ship hurled me into the bruised dark billows of the sea. So that's Orion singing, and Maurice Bora imagines that the chorus would have been dressed as dolphins and dancing around him while he sang that poem. His lyre supposedly was carried by one of those dolphins to Alexandria, and this is a little Alexandrian epigram about that by Posidippus of Pella. This lyre that Orion used to play, his dolphin brought to you, our sin away. He found it bobbing on the waves past hope, and second act of salvage scooped it up to stir, when it made land safe on his tail, the antiphon of every nightingale. So this is a sort of symbol of the way Alexandria received the classical heritage of that literature and then responded with their own poetry. The next two poems consider, in their way, whether the nightingales are poets or poems. This is a poem by a poet who calls himself the Cean Nightingale, that is from the island of Chios. This is Bacchylides, and it's the end of a poem in praise of a victory by Hieron of Syracuse in a chariot race. The sense I speak shall find its way to the mind primed to understand. The deeps of air may not be stained, seawater may not fester and decay. Gold thrills and pleases, but to slough our winter of senescence off and come again to the green glade of youth when our manhood commenced, the law is adamant against. Yes, but the light of greatness does not fade as bodies do. The muse's power still tends the blaze. The fairest flower of blessing, Hieron, you've shown to everyone. But silence will not shout the ode adornment out for excellence. And as men tell your true deeds, they will hymn as well my gift of honeyed harmony and hail the Cean nightingale. So that's Bacchylides calls himself a nightingale, but Callimachus, in one of his most famous epigrams, refers to the poems of his friend Heraclitus, who has just died, as nightingales. So I thought maybe I would read this one in Greek and then do the translation here. So there's a famous English translation by William Johnson Corey. Epetis Heraclete te omoron, este medacrue gagen, imnestein dos akis amfotoroi, helion in lesche catadiusamen. Alles humenbu, xein halicarne seo, tetrapolai spodie. Haide te eis dous en aedones, heisen hopandon harpacte saides, uge behave ballet. When I heard, Heraclitus, you were dead, I thought of all the sons we talked to bed those nights, and the tears came. Dear guest, I know that you were ashes long and long ago, and yet your nightingales are singing still. Death kills all things, but them he cannot kill. So just as Orion's lyre washed up on the shores of Alexandria several centuries before, Orpheus's lyre had washed up on the island of Lesbos, where, of course, Sappho and Alcaeus were from. And that's sort of what gave the island of Lesbos its fabled power and song. I thought I would read a couple poems, archaic poems from Lesbos before transitioning to some Latin poetry. This has all been Greek, by the way, everything I've translated so far. This is just a little, actually, you know what, I'm going to do that one. I'll just do Sappho. This one's famous. I do this in Greek too. This is the one that from the Slowdown, by the way. This is he seems like the God's equal. Okay, I'll do it in Greek. Fine time oikenos isoste oisen emmenon octis enantiostoi istane kai plasionaju phone sasupakue kai gelaisas imeroin tomema cardian in status in eptoisen oscaresido broche osme ponais udinedeke alla camin glosse e age lepton dauticachroi puriba dedromegen opa desiluden renie pirom besida cuae kai cademidros cache etai tromoste paisan agre chlorot eradet oias enni Tethnakein doligo bideoes, final memautai. He seems like the god's equal, that man, whoever he is, who takes his seat so close across from you and listens raptly to your lilting voice and lovely laughter, which, as it wafts by, sets the heart in my ribcage fluttering. As soon as I glance at you a moment, I can't say a thing, and my tongue stiffens into silence. Thin flames underneath my skin prickle and spark. A rush of blood booms in my ears, and then my eyes go dark, and sweat pours coldly over me, and all my body shakes, suddenly sour than summer grass, and death, I fear and feel, is very near. So that's the symptomatography of Sappho, and part of what I'm talking about here, I suppose, or illustrating is influence from one generation of poets to the next, so from the Archaic period to Alexandria, and from both to Rome, because this poem was actually semi-translated by Catullus, also in a famous poem, which I will do now, though Catullus goes a little rogue in the last stanza. The equal of a god, that man appears, better than gods, if it's not blasphemy, who sits across from you and stares and hears continually your lovely laughter, which in my despair siphons my senses. Soon as I look upon you, Lesbia, I'm dumb and don't know where my voice has gone. My tongue grows heavy. Underneath my skin, a thin flame drips. My ears ring with a bright and tinny sound, and my eyes are veiled within a twofold night. Free time, Catullus, that's what's killing you. Free time fuels your fidgeting and your flings. Free time has leveled prosperous cities too, and mighty kings. Horace has a little poem where he sort of makes fun of both of them in a subterranean kind of way. Can I do it in, I'll try to do it in Latin. I think I can. My formatting is sort of off in this handout, but we'll see what happens. Integer vitae, sceleris purus non eget mauris jacolis nequaracu, nec vene natis gravidas agetis fusque paretra. Sive per surtis et aestuosus, sive facturus per inhospitalem caucasum vel quae loca fabulosus lambetud aspes. Namque me silva lupus in Sabina, dum meam canto lalagain et ultra terminum curis vagor expeditis fugit in eremem, quale portendum neque militaris daunias latis alidaesculetis, nec iubae telus generat leonum aride nutrix. Pone me pigri subi nulla campis arbora estiva recreatur aura, quod latus mundi nebulae malusque Jupiter urget, pone sub curru nimium propinqui solis in terra domibus negata, dulce ridentem lalagain amabo, dulce loquentem. A man whose life is whole, whose heart is clean, Fuscus, doesn't need Moorish spears to seize on, or bows or quivers of arrows that have been tipped with poison, not if he makes for Libya's boiling sands, or for the Caucasus, where wind whiplashes the hostile peaks, or for the fabled lands the Indus washes. The proof? A wolf, as I wandered wholly charmed by Lalagay, singing of her and lost in thought out through my Sabine woods, though I was unarmed, took off like a shot, a prodigy such as no army ever spied among the oaks in Apulia's green environs, or in Numidia, that baked and dried nursemaid of lions. Take me to fields that sluggish ice sheets cover, which no trees break, no summer weather warms. Some region Jupiter's knitted brow scowls over with constant storms. Take me to where the sun swoops lower, faster, So lo, there are no towns or houses built. I'll still love Lollagay for her lovely laughter, her lovely lilt. One more Horace poem. This is a squib, a sort of a goofy little squib. He's apologizing to his patron Maecenas for not having finished his book of epodes already. What is this limp lethargy of limb that blunts my every whim, heedless, as if with parched lips I'd drunk deep goblets of Lethe sleep? Maecenas, you're killing me with all this nagging. God is why I'm lagging. A God keeps these long-promised, long-impending epodes from their ending. Bathyllus burned Anacreon, they say, with love in the same way, who often on the lyre he carried with him complained in a sing-song rhythm. You're burning too, but if your gorgeous toy shines like the torch of Troy, congratulations. Freed Phryne makes me suffer, and one man's not enougher. So part of the reason the main reason I read this is not because it's an amazing poem on its own, but anyone who's thinking about English poetry might have heard the opening of a famous poem about nightingales. It echoed in this Horace, that is heedless as if with parched lips I drunk deep goblets of Lethe sleep. You might hear, my heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense as though of hemlock I had drunk, and emptied some dull opiate to the drains 1 minute past, and Lethewards had sunk. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thy happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beechen green or shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. I won't do the whole poem, but Edmund Blunden argues that Keats had his Horace in his pocket that day. He composed under the tree at Lawn Bank or wherever it was. Another poem that may have factored in to Keats's thinking was a poem of Catullus here, another refusal poem where he apologizes for not having finished his, not having sent the poem that this orator named Hortulus had requested. Keats also, of course, was a bit obsessed by the long poem that he thought he should be writing, and Keats had lost a brother at a young age, and that is the excuse Horace gives for not having sent the poem requested by Hortulus. So I'm going to conclude with this little poem of Catullus, apologizing for not sending the right poem, and thanks for listening. Though constant grief confounds me, and its fetters, Hortulus, keep me from the maids of letters, and though my mind and heart are weak to press the muse's fruit, still drowning in distress, for recently my brother wet his toe, death pale, in turbid Lethe's sluggish flow, and took Retium's Trojan dirt for pall, ripped from my eyes by scanty burial. Dear brother, dearer to me than life, will I never see you again? I'll always love you. I'll always make sad music because of you, as Procne in the shade trees sings her pain, mourning for Ityllus, so early slain. That's the nightingale reference. Yet, Hortulus, despite my grief, I send lines of Batiades to you, my friend, so you won't think your plea, cast to the wind in vain, has tumbled headlong from my mind the way an apple, the hushed gift of a lover, when the girl jumps at the entrance of her mother, forgetful, poor thing, it was in her clothes, spills from her virgin lap, and as it goes rolling away now in a headlong streak, a guilty blush suffuses her sad cheek. Thanks.